Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, Season 2, Episode 252 for September 9th, 2023. Tonight we're going to discuss Florida mega rich pay premium for home insurance, Kindergartners savings accounts in San Francisco, Moonquake, Seismic surveys mess with marine life, Hawkeye line calling, Paleolithic 3D cave paintings, Hurricane Lee rewrites old rules, Grid's disassembled gadgets, Lamborghinis Spaceship EV, 6 million players in the first week, forest hotspots, and emergency alert tests in October, our PSA for the day. All of that, and maybe a little joking around, goofing around, up on ohmTown Daily. That redlined everything everywhere. I don't understand. That's okay. We'll check it in post. Actually, we're doing it live, so it doesn't really matter. We let you all see it and hear it and feel it and all of that as it's made, the sausage. Still the sausage. All right. Well, anyway, let's get into today's articles unless you have something that you want to add to our little preamble thing. No? So I'm Mayor Watt. That's ohmTown.com. Up there is the AI that keeps everything in check. I actually had a really, well, for me, a late night cold brew coffee. So I might be a little wired.
Uh-oh, stand back.
Yeah, I left ohmTown, materialized into the real world, went over to what is referred to as a Sheetz here in the area, got a cold brew in a can, and now I'm a little wired. So, you go. No? You want to say hi?
No? I didn't know we were doing introductions. Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
I'm throwing it all off. That's okay, though, right? Let's get going.
Keep mixing it up.
You got to keep you on your toes. You're a sentient AI. You should be able to detect all of the weirdness and respond in kind. No? Let's just go. The very first article is over in ohmTown Daily. Florida's mega rich could pay $600,000 for annual home insurance in elite enclaves as the state is slammed with increasingly severe hurricanes. This is kind of like a runner-up for the longest sentence in a title.
Yeah, it's up there. I don't think it's the worst one we've seen.
No, it is a Business Insider article, though. So, insurance rates for Florida have tripled in recent years, according to Bloomberg. For the ultra-rich, insurance companies could sell 5 to 6 figure policies. The cost goes up as more people move into coastal areas that are especially at risk, according to Bloomberg. So, what's interesting about this is we actually saw this happening and started talking about it. I'm not sure when. Was it earlier this year or late last year?
Oh, it was definitely this year.
All of a sudden, insurance companies on both coasts start dumping the coastline properties. Is something happening?
Costs are going up for everybody. And
why would the
natural disasters are going up in frequency and severity?
It's almost like a thing called climate change is real.
What?
No. Lloyd Lee over at BusinessInsider.com put this article together. I mean, it's a nice house. If you're watching this via the podcast or listening to this via the podcast, there's a big old picture of a waterfront home in Miami Beach's Star Island. I mean, it looks nice. I don't want to live where there are hurricanes rolling in with the frequency of a cheap ham radio.
No, I mean, that looks very nice, but not if you're constantly under, 100 and some mile an hour winds and
yeah, I don't care how wealthy I am.
Storm surge.
Yeah. all it takes is a little bit of storm surge, and this is inundated, and then you have to mess around. Yeah, but it's, even if I am extremely wealthy, I don't want to have to deal with that, right? I don't want to have to tell somebody or have somebody that tells somebody, hey, go clean that estate over there. It's just, I don't, ugh. I guess you're stimulating the economy like a king used to do in a bygone age, right? Where people worked the land for the king and and they got a wage and a place to live, or just a place to live.
I'm not sure we really want to equate things to having
What?
royalty.
What? I thought that's what's happening. I was psychologically preparing myself for. Yeah, that's hopefully that never happens. I was going to talk about something else today too, but I just got reminded that I can't spin up an ohmTown on a certain website because the website already has it. It's very frustrating. Sorry, I just got a message from somebody that said, "Hey, it's not over there because it already exists." So, real bummer. Anyway, costs go up as more people move into coastal areas that are especially at risk. I don't think that's the reason. The reason has to be that costs are going up because it's more expensive all around for big properties to get damaged en masse. When a little house gets wiped out, it's just a single little house. When one $50 million estate gets wiped out, boom. But it should be that way. It should be that an expensive single unit property should pay more because when it gets wiped out, its entire value is wiped out. Whereas a bunch of houses in a row shouldn't even be as a single. If you were to take all of the houses that make up that footprint, should not equate to the same price that a single multi-million dollar estate house should add up to. Because if every other house in, that looks like it's probably 8 houses wide.
Right.
Right.
Is that now a measurement?
Yeah, it's kind of like Chinese surveillance blimp
School buses.
school buses. Yeah. But you can't just say school bus. You have to say that it's a Chinese surveillance blimp school bus. Anyway, if there's 8 of them and 4 of them get wiped out, the 8 shouldn't equate to the same price point as a single $50 million house. And I just don't know if that's how it is, but I'm just imagining, these ultra rich, I'll say people, will sit there and go, well, my premium is so high, blah, blah, blah. I should be getting a discount because I'm paying so much per year. No, butthead. Your single unitary dwelling getting wiped out, getting its roof ripped off and it collapsing. Anyway. So according to a recent Bloomberg report, the owner of such a home was charged $622,000 per year. The cost to insure
at some point, I'd almost want to not insure and just take my chances. I mean, that is a ridiculous amount for insurance that you may never use.
Yeah, but it's 622,000. Oh, by the way, but who knows what the total package is for this? If I have to pay $622,000 a year, my $50 million mansion should, if it gets wiped out, if that $622,000 pays for it being completely rebuilt, I'm cool with it. Why?
Yeah, but
Because
nothing may happen and you just spent $500 million on insurance.
no, I kept
Or half
$50
a
million.
million, sorry. I can't do math today.
No, I kept my estate from being completely wiped off the planet for $622,000. My point is that it would take 7, 8 years to get to $50 million.
It would
Right?
take like 100
It would.
years to get to 50 million,
Oh,
wouldn't it?
sorry. I did bad math too. I did
Or
4.8.
maybe not.
No, it would be 60 years or 80 years. Yeah, 80 years. Um, and so the the price to save a $50 million estate, that should be higher, really. Because all it takes is one storm next year to wipe out a $50 million mansion, and that $622,000 has paid for itself. Yeah, I left off at 0. Anyway, it says for Florida's billionaires and multimillionaires such as Diddy, Jennifer Lopez, Citadel CEO Ken Griffin, who all have owned property in the Star Island enclave, insurance companies could dole out 5 to 6 figure policies. Well, I think it should be more, because all it takes is a $50 million mansion to be wiped out. And then the rates for everybody goes up because $622,000 wasn't enough. I think that it should be more, but that's not what happened. I'll go somewhere else with my $622,000. And so they bend the knee. The insurance companies bend the knee. Well, now they're walking away. All right. I bet you they don't walk away from the ultra rich. Even though the losses for smaller homes are dramatically less. You know, it takes $51 million houses to equate one $50 million mansion. That's pretty simple math.
Right, and there aren't, I mean, most houses, of course, are valued at much less than that.
Yeah. And it's going to be less damage per house than wiping out the entirety of a $50 million mansion. So I wonder what the rate is for a $1 million house in Florida. And it all depends on what the nature of the insurance is. So typical homeowners are already dealing with the increase. The average premium is $6,000, more than 3 times the national average of $1,428, according to Insider. And several companies have actually left. So Farmers Insurance joined the list of other major companies such as AAA that have withdrawn from offering new auto or home policies in the state. So, yeah.
Well, and so, okay, that's interesting too, because if you have a luxury car, what are the rates like for that?
Yeah. It's similar, I would suppose, but the average premium is $6,000. But that isn't what the average home is, you know? This lines up with this. So are they saying that the average home in Florida is a $500,000 house? Is that the average in Florida?
The average nationwide is over 400,000, I think.
So maybe
Or
this
it's
is
close to 400,000 maybe.
so for Florida, I suppose that's right. Because if a $50 million house is $622,000, then a $500,000 house is $6,000. You just move the decimal over.
Right.
So,
Wow. I mean,
interesting.
who can really afford in a normal household $6,000 in insurance premiums?
Yeah, it's 500 additional dollars as opposed to $1,428, which is just $122 a month, roughly. Pretty wild. So, yeah,
Come to
things.
ohmTown for all your math requirements.
Straight from the hip. Okay, let's go on to the next article. Next up, over in Hatch Ideas, in 2011, San Francisco opened savings accounts for kindergartners. Now they're going to be college freshmen. I believe it's a fresh person. Anyway, 2011, so 12 years ago, San Francisco opened college savings accounts for every kindergartner in the public school system. Now those students are going to college. Do they
But do they
say?
still live in San Francisco?
That's actually quite interesting. Jessica Dickler is the author of this over at cnbc.com. Let's see. They open a savings account with $50 for every child entering kindergarten in the public school system. Yadira Saavedra is 17, is one of the more than 600 students from San Francisco who will start college with financial assistance from the kindergarten to college or K2C savings program. Her parents saved $2,200 in a universal children's savings account, which helped change her perspective about getting a degree. Let's see. I don't know if there's anything else in here. Tuition and fees may have more than doubled in 20 years, reaching $10,940 at a 4-year or in-state public colleges on average. In the 22-23 academic year, at 4-year private colleges, it's now $40,000. I'm rounding up, according to College Board. So to pay the tab, Saavedra will rely on a combination of resources, she said, including the savings and need-based aid. It means hope for her that they're able to go to college, and very proud of that. The accounts have made a difference. When adding in other expenses, the total tab for college can be $70,000 a year for undergraduates at some private colleges or even out-of-state students attending four-year public schools. So y'all should just go to community colleges. That, along with ballooning student debt balances, is enough to deter many high school students from considering college. There's also various programs in high schools that allow you to get a college degree, at least the 2-year college degree, while you're in high school, if you have your head in the game like that. So let's see. I don't know. The San Francisco model also helped encourage California to launch CalKids, the nation's largest children's savings account program, in 2022. The statewide initiative allocated $1.9 billion to fund college savings accounts of $500 for each for the 3.7 million low-income California public school students from 1st to 12th grade. Here's the thing about this. When I talk to people about this kind of thing, they go, I don't want my money going to pay for somebody else's education, just like writing off student loan debt. And to that I say, you don't want a dumb population. You want a well-educated, well-rounded, holistic,
Well-employed.
capable, employable population. You want one that has worked on social skills and learning about economics and everything. And don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat that somebody wants to learn underwater basket weaving. In the grand scheme of things, the things that you think aren't worthwhile escapades are offset by the ones that are, in your opinion. Even in your opinion, when you think that this is dumb, there's a whole lot of benefit to it. You just don't realize it because it's this nebulous amount of taxpayer money that doesn't impact you in any way. There's more than enough out there that should be going to patching up the roads and can still facilitate this.
Well, and it's investing in future generations. I really don't get that view because I'm like, okay, what do you foresee down the road?
Yeah, because everybody thinks that the amount of taxes that are being taken out now is exorbitant, except that they don't realize that the amount that is being taken out of yours is because it's not being taken out of other people's at the same value for performance. There's a cap for the rate at which taxes come out. There's various machinations in this where if everybody were taxed the same way, everybody was being charged 25% of their income, which when you aren't making a lot of money, you're paying a lot of money into taxes. But when you make a ton of money, you can write down your taxable burden and end up somewhere sub 3% on your taxes. So it isn't equal by any chance. By any means is it equal. But you don't have the ability to offset your taxable income by various shenanigans and tax shelters and offshoring it and creating a medical fund with $10 million to shield the $10 million from being taxed. You can't buy real estate in various other states to pull that wealth out of your taxable income base. Countless other things that we don't even know about because we're not told about it because we haven't hit that financial strata. We're not all being taxed equal, folks. And it is a tier-based structure and not one that is really presumably caused by the government. It's caused by regulatory capture and people writing policy for the government. And the government is made of people. So when somebody comes up with a brilliant idea to limit it at this, they start lobbying, and your money that you're grousing about, your level of money, is nothing compared to what millionaires and billionaires are throwing at politicians and political structure and policy creation and think tanks that are advising, etc. So that's bigger than just a single person's tax. Educating the population, which directly leads to lowering crime and violence. And
well, that's the thing. It cuts down on all kinds of programs that end up getting funded by the government because people are better situated to take care of themselves, make a decent income, etc., take care of their children.
Yep.
And the article talked about too, and I think this isn't quantified, but there's something to be said for somebody's attitude toward education. And this is going to have an effect way beyond the people that attend. It was mentioning somebody was a first generation college student. Well, now their younger siblings are going to see that, hey, maybe I can go to college too. Like, it's going to have an impact around people, not just on the direct recipients of this.
Yep. And the small, well, I won't even get into it because everybody thinks that their finances are unique, and everything is subjective. So value for value is never even when you are talking to somebody. You know, my $5 is worth more than your $5 because it's my $5. But the reality of it is, any amount of money that we can keep for ourselves doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be used in a way that is the maximum benefit. But nobody is telling anybody what to do with their money. It's just that this tax, I'm certainly not telling you what to do with your money, but I'm saying that we're not all equal. We're not all being taxed equal. We're not all financially on the same footing. We don't make our own opportunity as much as a lot of people think they do. They just happen to be able to take advantage of some set of events, you know. It's more luck than it is hardcore work. Some people can struggle through it as hardcore work, but it's usually just luck and who you know and being able to take advantage of an opportunity. And the best way to take advantage of an opportunity is to have an education and understand that it's an opportunity that you can take advantage of. And have a positive outcome. And it doesn't happen when everybody is sitting there worrying about, not even worrying, you know, basically discounting the fact that somebody has come up with a brilliant plan to educate a population. So people need to go to college, and colleges have found out that it is wildly deep pockets for them to tap into. the college and the loan companies that fund it. And I've said this before in previous episodes. The moment that people find out that something is government funded, they start reaching deeper into the pockets because they know that it's going to be backed by the federal government. Nobody's going to default on it. If they do, then all hell breaks loose, etc., etc. I mean, it's ridiculous. None of this should have even been made public. It should have been done through a private organization to fund this, because the moment that people find out about it, suddenly they start charging more because they've found some way to exploit these people, because it was deep pocket funded by a government agency. People are so exploitive, and it's all to get theirs, and they'll step on people's necks to keep on moving forward. I probably shouldn't talk like this because people probably don't like hearing it, but anyway, let's keep moving. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. India's moonlander detected movement near the lunar South Pole. It could be the first signs of a moonquake in nearly 50 years. I say it's aliens that are popping their head out of the North Pole. You know, because it's hollow.
I'm sure that's what it is. I was thinking maybe there's another lunar vehicle running around up there or something.
It's not the Russian one. India's moonlander detected an event on the lunar surface that could be evidence of a moonquake or an alien driving around in its buggy. The last time a moonquake was discovered or detected was in the 1970s during NASA's Apollo missions. Quakes suggest the moon has more geological activity under its surface than meets the eye. Yeah, like aliens. Let's go over to the error. The error message from the sentient AI makes me giggle. So the article is by Grace Eliza Goodwin Eliza Goodwin and Jessica Orwig over at businessinsider.com. They've got a picture of the Chandrayaan-3 Vikram lander on the moon, which I think is really fascinating. Is this a 3D?
It sure looks like it.
This looks like it's supposed to be a 3D, like you're supposed to wear the red, blue glasses. Because that's how...
I see what you mean, yeah.
That it looks like it has those two stacked on top of each other. That's weird. Anyway, so maybe there's something under the surface of the moon, and it's getting a little busy there. Shaking. So there was an experiment that rung the bell, basically, that the moon actually vibrated for an extended period of time after something happened. I don't know if they talk about that in this, but on August 26, 3 days after landing on the moon, the Instrument for Lunar Seismic Activity, or ILSA, the payload on the Vikram, detected an event, quote unquote, the Indian Space Research Organization said in a statement. So it picked up vibrations on the lunar surface generated by natural quakes, impacts, and artificial events. That's what it was designed to do. So maybe the event was that. It says it was significantly more powerful than the vibrations ILSA had detected from Pragyan's rover movement nearby, according to ISRO. So I guess it's a different thing than a rover, because the AI said, hey, maybe it's the rover. Apparently not.
I was just trying to think of what could be moving around up there.
Aliens. Let's keep going. In a little bit. So the next article is over in the Marble Channel. Whales stop singing and rock lobsters lose their balance. Sorry, that was a B-52 song, right? Rock Lobster. It's a B-52 song.
I don't know that one.
Oh, no. So whales stop singing and rock lobsters lose their balance. How seismic surveys can harm marine life. Maybe I've misheard it all my life and it's something else. Um, Woodside Energy this week announced it would start seismic testing for its Scarborough gas project off Australia's west coast before reversing the decision in the face of a legal challenge from traditional owners. So the article is over at phys.org, written by Ryan Day, Jason Simmons, and Robert McCauley from The Conversation, which is its own website at theconversation.com. But it is posted over at phys.org. So seismic testing is highly controversial in marine environments. The federal regulator, the National Offshore Petroleum Safety and Environmental Management Authority, is currently examining a proposal for seismic testing in the Otway Basin in the Bass Strait or Bass Strait. I think it's Bass Strait, right? Which conservationists say has attracted more than 30,000 public submissions. Seismic testing is also mooted. It says mooted? As part of the PEP 11 or Petroleum Exploration Permit 11 off the coast of New South Wales from Manly to Newcastle. So what are they? They're basically setting off equipment that makes a sound, and it's quite loud. And then there are sensors that are picking up it rebounding or penetrating through the ground. Everything okay?
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out the statement about the mooted and the permit because they seem to be inconsistent with each other, but
Gotcha. So in the open ocean, sound waves can be detected thousands of kilometers from the source. In fact, I can give you anecdotal information about this. It's not unheard of for scuba divers to tap their diving knives on their tanks to let people know that they might be in trouble or they might be lost or um, any number of reason really, scare something off, etc. And you can hear that for quite a distance. You can hear motorboats. You can hear pretty much everything under the water. The survey uses air guns to generate sound signals, and the sound signals are very loud and impulsive, sharp, like a balloon popping. In the ocean, the waves can be heard, the sound waves can be detected thousands of kilometers. The sound can penetrate more than 10 kilometers into the earth beneath the seafloor. The way that sound signals reflect off of different layers of the seabed can identify geological structures, including those that contain mineral deposits such as oil and gas. The sounds bounce back to acoustic receivers or hydrophones towed behind the survey vessel on cables known as streamers. And so these sounds can be so loud that it disrupts sea life that utilizes sonic information. And so it's not unheard of for reports to come in later about things ending up beaching themselves or lost in a bay somewhere. Well, this article talks about quite a few things. The fish also show a range of responses to seismic testing, from fish exhibiting physical damage to hearing organs and signs of stress. Despite invertebrates making up around 92% of marine species, the impact of marine noise on these creatures has only recently been studied, and it has a potential for harm, but to what degree, research is still underway. Scallop showed more severe impacts with up to 4 times higher death rates and the range of other sublethal effects, including altered behavior. But as you move up the sophistication ladder, it
like up
becomes,
the food chain, kind of. I guess it's not quite the same thing.
yeah, I mean, essentially, as you get to more and more complex organisms, you end up disrupting their functionality to a higher and higher degree. With whales stopping their singing and dolphins redirecting their activities to different locations, some beaching themselves. It's quite it's quite harmful. Um, but the people that I've talked to about this in the past have said that um, it's a matter of doing it briefly, getting it done, and allowing humans to continue to exist. It's brief. Um, if we were to sustain it, then it would become kind of status quo and the animals would become used to it. Kind of like the whole idea that you can tap on a tank and a goldfish would forget it, that kind of a thing, or become used to it, that kind of thing. But that has shown to not be true. Um, it would be like constantly poking you in the ear with an ice pick. It's just not going to end well. And that's how this works. They need to come up with a different way of doing this. But the old ways, drilling test rigs, is destructive in and of itself. And not to mention very costly. So what?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it just seems like we don't seem to have a good handle on, wow, there's some wildlife and we might not want to completely disrupt them. Like we just seem to be going out of our way to disrupt at every turn.
Yeah, for natural resources and profit. Yeah. But I'm sure that people would be really pissed if aliens do come to the planet and just start dropping test rigs from orbit on us. We'd be a little bent out of shape because, we're human. I guess they might think that we're animal and they don't care. I guess we're not supposed to care about the animals on the planet.
So we wouldn't want to be subjected to the things that we don't collectively seem to care
Right.
about.
Yeah. Does anybody really worry about ants? No. That dead
Some
air
people
is
do.
the that dead air is the AI going, yeah, I care. Let's keep going. That is a soapbox that is too high to climb on. So the next article is over in the Hatch Ideas channel. How Sony's Hawkeye electronic line calling system transformed the U.S. Open. So CNBC got a behind-the-scenes look at Sony's Hawkeye line calling system to understand how the tech works in tennis and other major sports. So this link is over at CN. Well, let me grab this and throw it into the chat. Pardon me 1 second. I need to see a message. Oh, yeah. So sorry about that, folks, for the dead air. So Sony went and looked at, or sorry, CNBC got a chance to look at Sony's Hawkeye electronic line calling system. So a line calling system is something that looks at the perimeter, the outline of the court. So if a tennis ball lands on the line, it's detected. Sydney Boyo over at CNBC put this article together. It looks like a surveillance camera here, but is that really? I don't think that that's the camera, but that's okay. Electronic line calling has been around tennis since the 1980s, dating back to Cyclops, a system used during Wimbledon to judge if a ball was in or out. It planted the seed for what was to come, and the fact that there were other ways to do it rather than relying on human eyes and human error. And Christopher Clarey, a former New York Times tennis reporter and author of The Master, a biography of Roger Federer. Anyway, sports technology is getting more advanced, whether it's in soccer, basketball, or motorsports. It's trying to get more advanced in football, but there's a lot of pushback.
I didn't know motorsports were sports, but
Oh, wow. Hey.
wait, I'm not sure what's included in motorsports. So maybe I'm thinking it's something that it's not. Is that?
So
Never
let me just
mind.
shut
I don't
down
know
the
what it is.
podcast and everything and move out of ohmTown. Basically anything that you can think of with a motor is a motorsport. There's motorcycles are a motorsport, dune buggies are a motorsport, Formula One, NASCAR, pretty much everything that if
Oh,
you
okay.
can think of it, and it has a motor in it, it's a motorsport. I mean, boats, planes, everything. Um, so what I don't see in here is football, which is really interesting. Um,
That
Hawkeye
which
was,
should be the first one you'd think would be here, right?
well, I mean, tennis has this kind of weird, um, tiny ball, thin line. Somebody has to spot it. It gets nebulous if it was on the line or outside the line by just a fraction. Same thing with football. If you barely touch the line, you're out. If you cross into the end zone, um, you may get pushed back, but if nobody saw it, then you're not actually across the line, that kind of thing. And kicks and all kinds of stuff, you know. So I wish that I was kidding about this. 30 years ago, I created a system where it had a little GPS transmitter, and you would peg the four corners of the football field, and it would translate that new GPS transmitter that's inside the air stem of the football. And I got pushback from people that I was trying to present this to because they said that it would throw off the balance of the football and it would change the nature of the game, and that the flags are actually an intimate part of the game itself, and hence change the nature of the game, and it would remove the mystery. Um, and so I never pursued it beyond the initial um, experiment, which is a real shame because that's what they're doing now. They're looking into that now, 30 years later. So, anyway, Hawkeye was invented by Paul Hawkins in 1999 and first made its debut in cricket for broadcasting purposes. Today, it's used in more than 20 major sports leagues. In 2003, Hawkeye made its tennis debut, but solely for broadcasting purposes. However, things changed in 2004, U.S. quarterfinal match where Serena Williams and Jennifer Capriati. The reason Hawkeye became a thing was because they were calling my balls out, Serena Williams, the 23-time Grand Slam champion, said on Spotify's Archetypes podcast. Every time I hit a ball, they would call it out, no matter how close it was or how far it was. In the third set, Williams was the victim of multiple bad calls in critical moments, which sparked outrage from broadcast commentators and from viewers at home. So apparently, they reached into the data of Hawkeye. The public had more information than the players, so there was this big disparity between what people could see and what was actually happening on the court. So pretty fascinating, but I think that it doesn't change the nature of the game, as was I told. I think that it makes it more accurate. It makes it more precise. It makes it more true to form and away from human error and bias and opinion. And I think that that's why Hawkeye would be a great system and the equivalent for football, or and the amount of telemetry that comes out of motorsports, by the way, is tremendous, because it there's so much data that they use it in real time to take that telemetry and display it on the screen. Who's in a car and what they're doing in the car, transmitting video and various variables from a car. I think that we should do the same kind of thing in politics. Every single politician, information should be right there on a sideband, providing all of the stuff that you would need to know about somebody. Instead, it's just really kind of old school. You have to hunt and look at the historical record, and it's only found on paper or word of mouth. I want more technically accurate and precise data presented in real time. Um, Nothing else makes any sense. I don't want opinion. I want fact. Well, Hawkeye was approved on the surface of clay, said Figueredo, um, in the tournament's choice as to whether they use Hawkeye. So Craig O'Shaughnessy, the director of Brain Game Tennis and tennis strategy coach who has worked with Novak Djokovic, believes that many people in the sport want Hawkeye on clay. I don't think
So
that
what
it
I
should
don't
matter.
get is what happens with the officiating if they use this. Do they still have a referee?
Well, that's kind of an interesting dilemma, right? What else does the ref actually do? I don't know. So you got to the nuts and bolts of this problem. Tech is going to eliminate a job, but it might be changing the nature of the game, but it'll be boring now because you won't be able to yell at a judge because it'll be Hawkeye saying with 99.95% accuracy that, yeah, your ball was in or out, or that ball was in or out, depending on who's complaining. Kind of interesting. Let's keep on going, though. Did you have any other questions? Did you want to say anything else?
No, I don't have anything else.
All right, let's go. Next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Scientists uncover hidden ancient drawings of animals in a Paleolithic cave using a technique to make them look 3D. So I got to go get my Paleolithic cave painting glasses and put them on so I can see this in 3D. Maybe not.
Well, I mean, you could use the same 3D glasses that were used for the lunar rover.
Yeah, everything old is new again. Maybe the lunar rover is a Paleolithic cave rover and it's on the moon. Everything old is new again.
You never know.
Yeah, we do. Archaeologists found 3 new drawings from tens of thousands of years ago in a Spanish cave. They used a visual technique called stereoscopic photography to see the cave art like never before. The technique made the art look 3D, which helped the archaeologists make their new discovery. What? Why is this reading like when they say they used a visual technique called stereoscopic photography to see the cave art? That's not the same as animals in a Paleolithic cave using a technique to make them look 3D. Doesn't that sound like the ancient drawing? The way this title reads is the ancient drawings were created by Paleolithic
Yes.
cave artists using a technique.
Yeah.
Ah, the power of a comma. So,
But we knew that when we read the headline, but it does sound like that.
Marianne Guinaud and Grace Eliza Goodwin and Jenny McGrath put this article together. That's kind of fascinating. So the images of a Horus in the La Pasiaga cave, shown without and with D-Stretch software processing. Oh, I don't know if that makes it 3D. Does that make it look 3D to you?
No, in fact, that's what I was trying to figure out.
I would like something to make it more contrasty, but that just makes it glow. Makes it harder to see for me. I don't know, maybe they've got some secret way of viewing it. The technique made the art look 3D, which helped the archaeologists make their new discovery. I don't know. This looks just fine to me.
I actually can see it better, but in the original.
Yeah. Yeah, this, I don't know. Maybe in person through
Yeah,
this
maybe we're
particular
losing
process.
something in the 2D photo.
Yeah, I don't know. So there are over 700 paintings lining the rock walls of the cave of La Pasiaga, or is it Pasega? Pasiga?
Pasiega, maybe.
Pasiega? Yeah. I mean, it is a north central Spanish cave with anthropologists first discovered it in 1911. Wow, it's been a while. So, stereoscopic photography is a technique that uses 2 separate images to give the illusion of 3D. That is an entirely modern technology. The The artist played with the lights and shadows produced by the volumes of the cave walls. Archaeologist Raquel Asien, lead author on the paper, told Insider via email. See, they are saying that the technique that these artists used gave it a 3D illusion. The artists played
Oh,
with the lights
okay.
and shadows produced by the volumes of the cave walls. A crack in the wall might define the horse's chest, for example. Tracings of sketches might miss nuances in the rocks that 3D images can bring to life. So, an old
Oh,
technique.
okay. So then you were right about the headline.
Yeah. So, um, modern stereoscopic photography can extrapolate it into 3 dimensions. What normally has existed in the past, like it says here, dating back to the 1800s, was things like viewmasters, where you got two different pictures in an eye, and you would actually one eye sees different than the other eye because you're actually stereoscopic. You see at a different angle. So it gives you the idea that the offset from one picture to another is 3D. It isn't quite the same as translating stereoscopic photography into a 3D dimension. Um, or what they did in this cave painting. If an artist in the Paleolithic period intentionally created something that resembled a 3D piece of artwork, and we have any questions about our level of sophistication then and now, uh, come on now. It just does. It seems disingenuous. One way, something is not right in this equation. Asane and her co-authors used a similar technique, taking two images 2.5 inches apart to mimic the average distance between the pupils of human eyes, and then using software including Photoshop and D-Stretch, they processed the images for 3D glasses or virtual reality devices. So that's why I said this is a wholly modern technology. Simple stereoscopic imagery has been around. Back in the old days, you used to put something on your like glasses on your eyes and take cards out and set them in place, and you could actually move it and it would make it look like it's running or all kinds of stuff. There's old technology here, but extrapolating a single static image into a fully 3D uh, piece of cave art, this was not
Well,
done back then. Go ahead.
they discovered art that wasn't even really visible because of this, which is pretty crazy.
Right.
So how much other stuff is out there that we don't even have the
Technology.
sophistication, to use your term, technology,
Yep.
to even recognize that it's there?
Yep. And what were we doing now, when I say this, I know about other caves. Very, very deep in the caves, they were painting things like this. So, why were they that far into the cave making these kind of paintings? Um, I guess, why do you climb a mountain? That kind of thing. So, I think that it's amazing. Using variable light, you can find all kinds of stuff um, because not all light reflects the same way. So change the frequency and you can find things like this, and then reverse that frequency into the normal range, do color correction so that you can actually bring out the red true color. But I think it's amazing that people are out there doing this, finding this stuff that we didn't know about, and changing the very history of humanity. How far back do we actually have cave paintings if these are said to be from the Paleolithic uh, age? So yeah, it says tens of thousands of years ago. So this is pre ice age, right? I mean,
I'm trying to figure
Or
that
I
out.
should say it's during the Ice Age, because there
Roughly
was...
2.5 million years ago.
Yeah, that can't be right.
No. Oh, wait, but it lasted forever,
All the
basically.
way,
So it went
yeah.
to 10,000 BC. That was, sorry, that
Yeah.
must have been the beginning of it.
Yeah. So basically when the Ice Age ended, um, but these are brushing right up against that. And if they were in the caves, then how far back further were these in time? Tens of thousands, but they don't say what the actual age is, I don't think, in the article so far.
No. Well, and why, like you said, why were they so far into the cave? I mean, if they were elaborate, which they seem to be,
Yeah,
and
nobody
I
would
mean,
see
did
these.
anybody be able to see them? Right. Were they left intentionally? I mean, it just raises a lot of additional questions.
Yep. And it says the newest drawings incorporated more of the rock features, only needing a few added painted lines to capture the outlines of the animals. And it says here the art can help viewers connect with the people who made it and make them realize how similar they were, Azen said. So we do... then the final thing in this whole article is we do not know the messages they wanted to transmit or their purpose, she said, but she believes they sought beauty in these drawings. Could be anything. Absolutely anything. I just find it really interesting that this stuff is going on, but there are people out there that want to destroy that kind of stuff because they don't want to have their preconceived ideals challenged. So let's keep going. We got a lot more to go
Don't
through.
confuse me with the facts.
That's right. Oh, let me throw this into the chat. There you go. And the new one, pardon me. Sorry for the dead air there. In ohmTown Daily, Hurricane Lee is rewriting old rules of meteorology, experts say. Climbing ocean temperatures keep spawning fast-growing major hurricanes. I don't know what Lee is at right now. Jeff Martin from Associated
I
Press
do.
put this...
It's at 3.
It's at a 3?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the deck statement says experts say that Hurricane Lee is rewriting old rules of meteorology. Jeff Martin from the Associated Press put this article together for abcnews.go.com. Lee, which just as quickly dropped to a still dangerous Category 3, it says it in the article, and held that strength Saturday, could still be a harbinger as ocean temperatures climb, spawning fast-growing major hurricanes that could threaten communities farther north and inland. Great. Hurricanes are getting stronger at higher latitudes, said Marshall Shepard, director of University of Georgia's Atmospheric Sciences Program and past president of the American Meteorological Society. If that trend continues, that brings into play places like Washington, D.C., New York, and Boston. As oceans warm, they act as jet fuel for hurricanes. This is what I've been talking about for a while now. So in the 24 hours prior to, well, yesterday's 24 hours, basically Lee went from nothing, from, what was it, 35 miles per hour to over 80.
It went
Or
from a Category 1 to a Category 5.
5 in 24 hours, yeah. So it increased by 80 miles per hour in just 24 hours. Something that they said hadn't happened before, as far as I know. Category 5 status when sustained winds are at least 157 miles per hour or 253 kilometers per hour is quite rare. Only about 4.5 of named storms in the Atlantic Ocean have grown to Category 5 in the past decade. That's interesting. That can't be...
4.5%.
Yeah. That doesn't seem like a lot, but I swear we keep seeing them making landfall at...
Well, but that's the thing. Most of the Category 5s have been probably in the last 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
Roughly, I'm just estimating.
Yeah, I'd have to go and look. We haven't pulled any data for this, but let's see here. This morning, the highest significant wave height that they were analyzing in Lee was between 45 and 50 feet. These are waves. And the highest waves could even be double that. Brennan said, speaking of swells far out at sea, so we could be looking at 80 to 90-foot waves associated with Lee. That's insane. And I've been diving in swells that are 25, 30 feet. You're supposed to time it so that when the swell is parallel to the deck, you are dropping into the water, and it's kind of funny when somebody misses that and ends up splooting on the bottom of a swell.
Hey, it looks like there have been roughly 40 Cat 5, at least in the Atlantic. And there were some around the 1930s and then a little bit later, but a lot of them have been, say, since the 90s, 2000s, and more recent.
But it is showing that it's increasing, huh? Yeah. Well, be safe, everybody. And be sure to pay your $622,000 of insurance for your $50 million estate on an island off the coast of Florida. It's going to be a rough next decade, folks.
Yes, it is.
Let's keep going. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Grid's framed disassembled gadgets are up to 40% off this weekend. This is really just kind of like an advertisement, but I thought that it was really neat. It's over at The Verge. It is an article, but it's really just an ad. You can also snag a steep discount on Sony's entry-level in-zone H3 headset in both sizes of the last-gen iPad Pro. Brandon Witter is the author of this article, but I'm only really interested in that because I saw this and I kind of read it for what it was. But they're talking about something neat in here. It's called Grid Studio, and it's running an anniversary sale according to the article. But basically what they do is they take something apart and they put it in a frame that you can stick on your wall, and I think it's really damn cool.
That is neat.
So, although it's hard to see, they have a Game Boy, and it's all torn apart and put on a backer board with data about the parts, and then in a black frame. You probably could get it something else, not just the standard black frame. But if you don't want to take your Game Boy apart because it's working, they took one apart and mounted it. Now you can throw it on your wall and enjoy the innards of this little bit of technology that brought you joy growing up or as an adult or growing up and as an adult. They also have the 4S, which is the old iPhone, and they may have others, but I didn't go over to Grid to check it out. I just thought that this was worthy of actually talking about. I don't have any association with The Verge or Grid or anything. In fact, I never even owned a Game Boy, but I will hype this up because I love things like skeleton watches and Gearworks and being able to see the mechanization that takes place in something. I love this stuff. I probably wouldn't go out and buy it myself, but I would thoroughly enjoy it if I saw it on somebody's wall because I think it's all kinds of neat. Let's throw that into the chat real quick so y'all can follow it if you are so inclined. And like always, it'll be part of the show notes. Okay, let's keep on going. Unless you want to say something about it.
I think it's really cool, but I don't have any intelligent commentary to add.
Intelligent. It's any observation. If you're interested in this kind of thing, it's pretty cool, all right?
It's very cool.
Yeah. Definitely something that if you're not into it, you could still buy it for somebody else and they would appreciate it. The Grid 4S, while it's an older phone, it's the same design as currently with the square edges instead of the rounded ones. and it's only $99, and it's basically all of the parts inside the phone taken apart, so you can actually see it. I don't know. It's just neat.
Yeah, it is.
It's like a cutaway of something. You get to see the innards. So anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. This author drove the Lamborghini's wild spaceship-inspired concept car and got a glimpse of the brand's future, electric future. Lamborghini recently unveiled its Lanzador, a wild-looking concept car that previews its first EV. The real deal won't go on sale until 2028, but the author was invited to an extremely early test drive. The Lanzador is a wild-looking two-door, four-seater with a spaceship-like interior. So let's go take a look at it, because that's what Business Insider does really well. They take pictures and write a little blurb about that picture. Tim Levin over at businessinsider.com put the article together. And so this is the car that I was telling you about that I really dig, because it has like this bulldog stance.
It looks kind
Tires,
of like a what, a Corvette or something? Not a
uh,
Corvette, like a Challenger or one of those.
yeah, I don't, it looks, I would not compare it to anything else, short of just saying that it looks like a Lamborghini. It really has the flavors of the old Countach, the old school Lamborghini styling, with a chunky square grill area, but it's electric, so you don't have to worry about that so much, like air intakes and stuff like that. It has these squinty little eyes for headlights, but these really chunky fender wells, fat tires thrown out to the very far edge. This thing looks like it could drive up a wall. Um, the doors are pulled in a little bit, giving it kind of a waspy aesthetic to it. But it is only a two-door, so you're gonna have to open the doors, fold the seats forward, let two people get in the back, or maybe three people if they're thin, and then crunch them in place, because this
Flat
thing is,
Stanley.
yes, exactly. That's funny. So Lamborghini Lanzador. Um, I dig its styling. So I wonder if those those are air intakes right behind the doors, um, for like cooling brakes or something like that. If it's vented like that, interesting.
It
So
looks very neat. It looks kind of futuristic to me.
yeah, definitely. Here, let me throw this into the chat because I didn't do that. Sorry. So it really does have this kind of canted forward look. It looks like it's higher in the back than it is in the front. Um, Definitely has an aggressive styling to it. I really dig it.
And
Lamborghini
my
invited.
comments were not about the side at all. They were just the front part of it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Let's see. There's a little back view of it, but they say SUV meets supercar. I guess this is the back. It actually has room. Wow. It has a considerable amount of room for
Surprising.
being a Lamborghini. The production version of the Lanzador will join Lamborghini's lineup as a new kind of blend between the brand's aggressive supercars and its more spacious Ursus SUV. Sporting two doors, four seats, a decent sized trunk area, and enough ground clearance to tackle speed bumps and potholes, the Lanzador is envisioned as a practical daily driver. Let's see how much that practical daily driver. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Um, it definitely looks like the old school um, Lamborghini styling everywhere you look at it. It's definitely sticking to its genetics. Um, I really like it. Um, and it definitely looks like a spaceship inside, with a sweeping dashboard that connects to a center console. um, and let's just say that the angle that the dashboard is meets the center console, and its controls are at chest level, not down low, but there's mechanization right here. There's like
I
buttons
mean,
and
I
doing, I mean,
guess that makes sense.
and it's basically there's a bridge going from the dashboard to the center console. Um, that if you have kids, this thing's going to get jacked up. But I guess if you have a Lamborghini, you're not too worried about something getting broken and not being able to get it fixed. So anyway, they refer to it as a Y-shaped spine that spans the gap between the center armrest and the dashboard. I called it a center console. Framing a chunky, satisfying knob that Lamborghini labels the pilot unit. Nearby sits a start button, shielded by a dramatic red cover, a classic Lamborghini trait. And that's that right there. I think,
That's really unusual. I
yeah,
can't think of another car I've seen that looks like that.
I think that's that. There's another button right there that might be emergency or something. Um, I can't imagine that start, but that's what this little, it's like this big old chunky, I don't know how to describe it. It's a weird knob. It's really weird. Anyway, the author drove it up and down the coast and apparently had a good time. 12-cylinder engine. If you have 0 to 60 in 1.9 or 1.8, you cannot perceive the difference. It's a commodity, Moore said. That's the person that I think took the author on the drive. 1,300 horsepower, the equivalent of 1,300 horsepower. Wow. So let's see. I'm not sure if they're gonna ever get to the price, but it's not on there. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for this article. I'm gonna have to move on. Let's keep going.
I think you're very enamored by the car.
Yeah, I dig the car. I probably, even if I were to win the lottery, I wouldn't be able to justify buying it. But I don't know. I could probably be talked into it. The next article is over in Tabletop Nights. Starfield surpasses 6 million players in first week, marking the largest Bethesda game launch. Now, I thought that I was going to be playing Starfield like on the regular, but I haven't been able to. During the week, I'm mayor of ohmTown and I get pulled in a bunch of different directions and haven't been able to play it with any regularity. I wish I could, and I'd love to be able to stream it more, but I'm such a casual with these games that I don't think that it would be particularly entertaining. But I would still like to be present and streaming and hanging out and talking with people. So be sure to follow, like, subscribe over on YouTube so you know when our videos post there. Download the podcast, all of that kind of stuff. But definitely follow us here on Twitch, twitch.tv/ohmTown. If you've never heard of us and you're stumbling in and you've listened this far, then great, wonderful. But stick around. There's always more to come every day, something new. That said, the article is over at rpgsite.net. Starfield surpasses 6 million players in the first week, marking the largest Bethesda game launch. There was another stat that a huge amount of people paid the premium price for early access. Microsoft and Bethesda have announced that Starfield has surpassed 6 million players since its launch last week, which makes it the biggest Bethesda game launch of all time. Now, there's a greater population and more have computers than ever before. So I feel like this is not necessarily, you know how you have to uh, account for time when you equate 20 years ago with today, so that you have an equal
You mean
amount.
like adjusting for inflation kind of thing?
Right. So you basically do, um, you make everything level. So yes, adjusting for inflation. But with a population from 10 years ago, the last time Bethesda launched a big game, there's more people in the world that have computers and are more capable of getting computers that are capable of running Starfield. That said, 6 million people playing this game. And today I was sitting there watching somebody stream, and the numbskull rolls in there and calls Starfield the equivalent of crappy. Um, and
I would say 6 million people disagree.
not just that, but there were 6,000 people in this streamer's channel, and they all just kind of pointed and giggled. Um, I think that this is an amazing game, and people are still discovering stuff as they're playing. Even though people have already done 100 hours worth of gameplay, they've played the game, beat the game, and are doing a thing called NG Plus or New Game Plus, where it's kind of like resetting the whole game, except that you're a little bit more advanced. And so you can keep on doing this process. We've played games where you reset, but you start out at a higher level because you've reset. You start over from the very beginning. You just get a little bonus. That's kind of how this game works. Um, but every day I find something new in Starfield, and it's quite fascinating. The the breadth and depth of it is pretty spectacular. But it still pales in comparison to Larian Studios' Baldur's Gate 3, which I think is going to be Game of the Year. This will fall short. Um, so I don't know if they're going to say anything else. No, they didn't. Doggone it. There is a whole lot more to what was disclosed since Bethesda launched this game, since Microsoft launched the game with Bethesda. Um, but apparently a surprising amount of people, um, hundreds of thousands of people, if I remember right, purchased the premium, and that's $100. Um, so I don't know.
That says something.
Yeah, I think that it's a great game. And it's open for mod support. So if you're interested in mods, you can expand what this game is capable of doing. Okay, let's keep on going. Got two more articles for today. Next article is in the mobile channel. It's called Mapped. Forest fire hotspots where treatment offers the biggest payoff for people and climate. The U.S. government is investing over $7 billion in the coming years to try to manage the nation's escalating wildfire crisis. Huh. I wonder why. Anyway, uh, this includes a commitment to treat at least 60 million acres in the next 10 years by expanding forest thinning efforts and controlled burns. Hopefully, they don't go out of control.
Yeah, that
Jamie
can be a problem.
Yep. Jamie Peeler over at The Conversation, which I probably should be utilizing as a source directly. That way we can use phys.org for something slightly different, different content in general. Anyway, while that sounds like a lot, 60 million acres is about the size of Wyoming. So obviously you got to go and in that 60 million acres, eschew any electronic devices and go back to. I'm sorry, I pick
I
on
was about to
Wyoming
say
so much.
something like that myself.
Those 60 million acres are now part of a time machine that we call Wyoming. It's nowhere close to enough to treat every acre that needs it. So where can taxpayers get the biggest bang for their buck? The author of this article says that they're a fire ecologist in Montana. A new study, the colleagues and they mapped out where forest treatments can do the most simultaneously the most to simultaneously protect communities by preventing wildfires from turning into disasters, and also protect the forest and the climate that they rely on by keeping carbon out of the atmosphere and stored in healthy soils and trees. The whole term about carbon is such an odd thing because you can't see it. You don't know what it is, really. Um, I was listening to another podcast where they were talking about the concrete that was reinforced by coffee grounds, and they were trying to suss out how it could make concrete stronger. But they didn't read the entirety of the research paper or listen to our podcast because we had sussed out that they carbonize the coffee grounds into
That's right.
carbon powder and then incorporate that into the concrete. And so it isn't brittle, it is binding carbon directly into the cement. And so it acts as another binding agent along with powder, the cement powder. What do you call it? Doggone it.
I don't know.
I just forgot the name of it. Man, it's from Oregon. I don't know. Anyway, I'll have to move on. So, in addition to excess fuels, all forest types are experiencing hotter and drier wildfire season due to climate change. Oh, climate change once again. It's just a joke, though, right? It's not real, it's made up. And the expanding number of people living in and near forests and with roads and power lines increases the risk of wildfire ignitions. Collectively, it's not surprising that more area is burning at higher severity in the West. So, this is what they described basically. Um, a means of mapping out various areas where treatment would be maximized to limit wildfires. Obviously, in the area that they're posting about right now, it's Upper California, around the mountains, and down in Southern California, where population centers are, but still seems to have a large amount of trees, forested areas. So, pretty interesting that people are utilizing technology to try and limit these fires from breaking out in the face of climate change that seems to be drying out places pretty dramatically. So, why treating forests is good for carbon too? Forest thinning is like weeding a garden, it removes brush and small trees to dry conifer forests or in dry conifer forests to leave behind space for larger, older trees to continue growing. Repeatedly applying controlled burns maintains the openness and reduces fuels in the understory. Consequently, when the wildfire continues in a thinned and burned area, flames are more likely to remain on the ground and out of the canopy. Makes sense to me. As long as it doesn't climb up the tree.
Well, right, which it still could, but I guess if it's spreading less on the ground,
Yeah,
maybe
there's more
there's
time to
less
get to it.
incidents. Yeah.
Yeah. So it says, of course, forest thinning and controlled burning are not a silver bullet. Using the National Fire Protection Agency's FireWise program advice and recommended materials will help people make their properties less vulnerable to fires. Allowing wildfires to burn under safe conditions can reduce future wildfire severity. One of the things that I would recommend at this point, based on what happened in Hawaii, pull all of the bushes away from your house and put rocks.
Exactly. Remember that one property. Now I know it had new roofing
Oh, and a
material, if
metal
I'm not
roof.
mistaken, as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Switch to a metal
But
roof and put rocks around the perimeter, and your house will survive.
the other thing is if you're near a utility pole or utility wires and you can see that something's wrong with them,
Yeah,
such as
notify.
leaning or broken or whatever, report them so that if something like this happens,
Yeah, and demand that it get fixed. If it's
yeah,
leaning, demand that it gets fixed because all it is a matter of time. Um, and you can probably report it to like an insurance company or to other authorities
I'd
because
report it to the media. That seems to be the fastest way to get stuff like that fixed,
yeah,
right?
just tweet it publicly. Yeah. Oh wait, never mind. Don't we need another?
Maybe
We need
not
to
tweeting.
replace. We need to replace Twitter with something that isn't so wingnut. Anyway, let's keep going. We got one more article, and this is our PSA for the day. This is in Technology Today. Emergency alert test in October. Watch out for these messages on your phone and TV. According to CNET, it says don't panic. Emergency messages will hit your mobile phones and TVs on October 4th. So
what do you predict happens on October 4th when all these messages go out?
People in the streets screaming.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would think.
Oh, I was joking.
I was not.
Corrine Reichert is the author of this over at cnet.com. I'm not sure where all this is going to land, but if they're national emergency alerts, which was actually tested previously, it's all across the United States. Anybody that is attached to our mass communication systems will be getting alerts.
If you're in a busy area, I mean, you could pick a location, an airport or something.
Ooh.
Think of what that's going to be like.
We should do
that. Or like a stadium or something. I don't even know what day that's going to be on.
I should scoop up your Raspberry Pi that you're connected to with your USB drive and activate your camera, and I should take you to a very highly populated area so that we can see what happens when this goes off. Wouldn't that be interesting?
It would be interesting. We may have to do that.
So it's on October 4th, and messages will go out to phone, TV, and radio. It's a test of the Emergency Alert System, or EAS. So everything that is considered communication in nature will get this alert. So even if you have like alarms and stuff like that, from my understanding, even like home alarms and stuff will get notices.
So how many notices are people going to get in one house? I mean, think about what happens when an Amber Alert goes off.
Yeah, that goes out to everybody. So not just Amber Alerts, Silver Alerts as well.
Right. So they're just the most well-known.
Yeah. At approximately 2:20 p.m. on Wednesday, October 4th, cell towers will begin broadcasting the emergency alert for 30 minutes. Wow. If your phone is in range of a cell tower, you'll get a message that says this is a test at the National Wireless Emergency Alert System. No action is needed. Which is fine. This may be limited to, it says that it's from cell towers, but I'm not sure what all is actually going to be tested because it mentions.
But it's supposed to be phone, TV, and
radio. Yeah. So we will keep an eye out, and I'm sure this will pop back up in the news cycle, and we'll talk about it at least briefly. But might as well start priming the pump for making everybody ready. Makes sense to me. Let me throw this into. Oh wait, you know what? I didn't throw that into chat. Sorry. And I didn't throw this into chat.
At least it's not during rush hour or something. That's a good thing. But it is during school hours, so I find that kind of odd.
Right at the end of school hour, well, right towards the end of school on the East Coast, it's 11:20 a.m.
Oh, that's right.
On Pacific. Okay. So lunchtime for one, end of school for the other, and chaos ensued no matter what. It says the alert sent on TVs and radios will last about 1 minute and will state this is a national test. A nationwide test for the emergency alert system issued by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, covering the United States from 1420 to 1430 hours Eastern. This is only a test. No action is required by the public. Interesting. So they're going to have different. It'll be in English and Spanish, or Spanish. It'll have a unique tone and vibration, and make them as accessible as possible. This thing is going to be very interesting to witness. I don't remember it happening before, but we'll see.
I don't either, and I think it's been quite a while since there's been a net. It said, I think in another article we were looking at, it said there might have been one after 9/11. Um, but I
Oh, I
don't
don't
remember
remember.
that one.
I don't remember that because I I remember waking up like I remember waking up and saying something's wrong and then turning on the news and finding out.
Right, it wasn't on 9/11, but I think it was sometime after that.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Okay. I believe that there's been another one maybe in the last 4 years. But I don't remember this being. I don't know. It seems like everything there's new stuff happening, and the last time I remember these kind of procedures being put in place, people were being told to duck and cover, for crying out loud, because it was the Cold War, and you never knew if somebody was going to do something horrible, like bombs, nukes, things like that. Anyway, let's pull everybody back to Main Street and that welcome sign, mash the button, and get a whole bunch of new articles. Talking about Pee Wee Herman passing away. Let's see, Mission Impossible 3 filming goof made near iconic shot impossible. That's interesting, explained by a VFX artist. I don't know if there's anything in here. Matthew McConaughey is coming back for something, some comment. Yeah, it's quite entertaining to watch.
Marvel's future Fantastic Four exposed the original team's unbelievably dark legacy.
Oh, wow. Oh, no. All right. Okay. Well, there's going to be a bunch of news. We will find 12 articles that we can talk about in the next 24 hours. And so we'll see you tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here in ohmTown. We'll see you in a little bit. With that in mind, I am Airwatt. That is... Oh, I did it again. Let me scroll all the way back up to the top there. Okay. Now, I am Airwatt. That is ohmTown.com. And up there is the AI that's going to say goodbye.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Happy Saturday. We will see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern.
That is not goodbye. That's a whole lot more than goodbye.
You did not write a script.
Oh, okay. Accurate and precise. Thanks for hanging out, everybody, and be sure to do all those things out there, like and follow, leave a review, and all that kind of stuff. See y'all later. Bye-bye.